This is the Washington Times front page for Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. President Trump told House GOP members that the war with Iran was on track to end soon, even while Turkey shot down another incoming Iranian missile and Israel broadened its airstrikes to target oil production facilities. Vaughn Conkane, Susan Friccio, and Mallory Wilson report the president addressed Republican members at their annual retreat, calling the effort a short-term excursion. Trump reiterated his claim that if the United States didn't launch its strikes on Iran within a week, Iran would have attacked the United States. The president and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said over the weekend the deployment of U.S. ground forces to secure or extract Iran's uranium remains a possibility. 7 American service members have been killed so far in the war. Previously, Iran-backed militias were responsible for killing at least 603 U.S. troops during the Iraq War from 2003 to 2011. U.S. officials say those deaths accounted for roughly 1 in 6 U.S. combat fatalities in the country. In another fallout from the war, energy officials from Group of 7 nations say they would tap strategic oil reserves if necessary after oil prices surged above $100 per barrel. Tom Howe reports French Finance Minister Roland Lescure said the G7, a bloc of major economies that includes the U.S., has considered tapping emergency oil supplies to tamp down the price of crude. Stock markets had a topsy-turvy day after West Texas Intermediate crude surged to nearly $120 a barrel in overnight trading before easing below the $100 threshold. The price of international benchmark Brent crude followed a similar pattern and eventually settled below $100. Prices had not exceeded $100 a barrel since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The national average for a gallon of regular gasoline is about $3.50, up from less than $3 just a week ago. Artificial intelligence firm Anthropic has sued the Trump administration over its move to designate the company a supply chain risk to national security. Ben Wolfgang reports the San Francisco-based company filed 2 lawsuits, one in federal court in California and a second in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington. The lawsuits challenge the Pentagon's extraordinary supply chain risk designation announced last week. It cuts off the company from federal contracts and prohibits other firms from doing business with Anthropic if those firms want their own deals with the government. Anthropic wants assurances that its Claude AI tool would never be used to develop fully autonomous weapons or for mass domestic surveillance. The Pentagon insists Claude must be available for all lawful uses. Apple News has slowly increased its aggregation of stories from right-leaning news outlets after an inquiry by a conservative group. Valerie Richardson reports the Conservative Media Research Center said the app finished the month with a total of 8 articles from right-of-center publications, mainly Fox News and The Telegraph. The MRC accused Apple News of political bias after not including an article from a right-of-center news source for 100 days. An Apple spokesperson said last month that Apple News users can tailor the app to their interests by choosing to follow or block specific publications or topics. And finally, former Washington Times editor David Keene has died at 80. Stephen Dinan reports he became a lobbyist and advised members of Congress and multiple presidents. He headed the American Conservative Union before leading the Washington Times opinion pages and then becoming editor-at-large. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.